Greetings to everyone present. I am Arshiya Tazeen from Group 1 and today we are here in order to give an overview on ancient literature. Asian literature encompasses a vast array of works from diverse cultures, languages and traditions across the continent. I would like to first begin with Chinese literature. Chinese literature has a long and rich history. The Book of Songs is considered to be one of the earliest texts. Japanese literature. In the classical period, one saw the creation of notable works like The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu, and it's considered the world's first novel. Indian literature. The literatures from India has flourished over the years. The Vedas, including the Rig Vedas, are known to be one of the oldest texts. Ancient Asian literature texts include records of grand historian from China, Bhagavad Gita from India, and the Tale of Genji from Japan. And these texts have laid foundational philosophical frameworks that continue to resonate in contemporary writing. One can see the influence of colonial writings. The impact of colonialism has reshaped literary landscapes, and this includes the Western forms and themes. This period fostered a complex interaction between indigenous narratives and Western literary conventions that led to the emergence of hybrid genres. Contemporary writers these days try to tackle pressing topics such as globalization, climate change, gender identity, and social injustice. And they help the blending of traditional storytelling with modern issues that helps create a rich tapestry of narratives.
Asian modernism in literature. Asian modernism in literature emerged in the early 20th century, driven by the rapid changes of modernization, colonialism, and global interaction. This transformative period saw writers blending traditional cultural forms with new Western ideas, giving rise to unique literary styles across the continent. From Japan to India, China to Southeast Asia, authors began to experiment with narrative structure, language, and form, delving into profound themes of identity, nationhood, and existential angst. Key literary movements such as the Bengali Renaissance in India, the New Sensationalist movement in China, and Japan's Taisho Romanticism played pivotal roles in shaping modernist expressions. These movements reflect both a resistance to and an adaptation of global modernity, while remaining deeply rooted in regional histories and philosophies. Through their innovative works, these writers not only engage with the complexity of their changing worlds but also crafted narratives that resonate with universal human experiences. Some of the movements in Asian modernism. First, Japanese modernism flourished during the Taisho and Showa periods in the early 20th century. Emerging from Japan's rapid modernization, writers drew inspiration from Western literary styles like naturalism and surrealism. Notable authors such as Ryonosuke Akutagawa, Yasunari Kawabata, and Osamu Dazai explore themes of alienation, individualism, urban life, and the clash between tradition and modernity. Next, the Chinese May 4th movement erupted in 1919 as a response to political frustration over foreign imperialism. Intellectuals called for modernization and advocated for the use of vernacular Chinese to reach broader audiences. Prominent figures like Lu Xun and Laoshi focused on anti-traditionalism, social criticism, and intellectual awakening, pushing for personal and social transformation. Lastly, the Indian Progressive Writers movement, spanning the 1930s to the 1950s, emerged in reaction to colonial rule and the fight for independence. This movement emphasized social justice, tackling issues like caste discrimination and women's rights. Writers such as Saadat Azan Manto and Ismat Chugtai critique religious orthodoxy and gender inequality, often aligning with Marxist and social ideals. Together, these movements highlight the diverse voices and pressing social issues with Asian modernism.
Let's look into the theme of identity crisis in Asian literature. The theme of identity crisis is a prevalent and compelling element in Asian literature, reflecting the complex interplay between individual identity and cultural heritage. It reflects the complex interplay between tradition, modernity, and global influences. It also helps us to explore the identity crisis through personal, cultural, and societal lenses. It is also shaped by the dynamics of culture, migration, generational conflict, gender, and spirituality. It concentrates on the theme of cultural displacement, where the characters are caught between traditional Asian values and the influence of Western culture. The second theme is colonial and post colonial identities, which the characters deal with fractured identities as a result of colonialism. It also concentrates on the theme of diaspora and migration, resulting in the characters which deals with exile, adaptation, and the feeling of being an outsider.
In Asian literature, food and cuisine are not just elements of daily life, but profound symbols that reflect culture, identity, and the human experience. Firstly, food is a powerful symbol of tradition and identity. In Chinese classics like Dream of the Red Chamber, meals and banquets serve as reflections of social status, family hierarchy, and traditional values. What people eat, how they prepare it, and whom they share it with are often tied with deeper cultural meanings. Similarly, in Indian epics such as Mahabharata, food connects to Dharma, where offerings of food symbolize respect for gods, ancestors, and community. Secondly, food strengthens family bonds and rituals. In many Asian literary works, sharing meals represents the heart of family life and continuity of cultural practices. In Pachinko by Menjin Lee, for instance, food scenes serve as moments of connection across generations even as families struggle with displacement and hardship. Food binds people to their past, maintaining traditions even in the face of change. Another essential aspect is the spiritual significance of food. In Japanese Zen literature, preparing food is more than just a chore. It is a form of meditation, a way of being present in the moment. In South Asian texts, too, the ritual of cooking and eating is often imbued with spiritual meaning, emphasizing purity, mindfulness, and respect for life. Food also acts as a metaphor for struggle and survival. In works like Pearl's Bugs, The Good Earth, the abundance or scarcity of food reflects social conditions and personal fortunes. It becomes metaphor for economic hardships, societal shifts, and the resilience of characters facing adversity. Lastly, food in literature becomes a bridge between cultures, especially in diasporic narratives. In The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan, for example, food represents the immigrant experience where traditional dishes serve as a connection to one's homeland, a way to navigate life in a foreign culture. It's a symbol of both comfort and alienation, reflecting the tension between preserving one's roots and adapting to a new environment. In conclusion, food in Asian literature is far more than sustenance. It is a rich cultural tapestry woven with meanings that reflect identity, spirituality, family, and survival.
So the next slide is about the impact of colonialism on Asian literature. The impact of colonialism on Asian literature is profound and far-reaching. And I have segregated this impact into three categories based on the periods. One is pre-colonial period, second one is colonial period, and the third one is post-colonial period. So here are some key aspects under the topic. So when it comes to pre-colonial period, there are two aspects. The first one is rich literary traditions. Asian cultures had vibrant literary traditions before colonialism. For example, Indian epics, Chinese classics, Japanese poetry. And the second aspect is cultural exchange. Asian cultures exchanged ideas, stories, and literary influence through trade and cultural exchange. The second period of the impact of colonialism is colonial period, which starts from 16th century and ends by 20th century. So among all the three, the first aspect of colonial period is the imperialism and cultural suppression. Colonizers imposed their language,
culture and values on Asian societies, suppressing native traditions. The second one is language and education. Colonizers introduced European languages and education systems and altering literary expression. The third one is cultural hybridity. Asian writers began incorporating Western influences into their work. The last period is post-colonial period, which starts from 20th century and ends by 21st century. 21st century. Among Under this topic, the first aspect is nationalism and identity. Asian writers explored national identity, cultural heritage, and resistance to colonialism. The second one is decolonization. Writers challenged colonial narratives, reclaiming native voices and perspectives. And the third one is globalization and diaspora. Asian writers addressed globalization, migration, and cultural exchange.
History of refugees in Asian literature. What is meant by refugees? Refugees are people forced to flee their own country and seek safety in another country. Sri Lankan Tamils in India. Sri Lankan Tamils in India mainly refer to Tamil people of Sri Lankan origin in India and non-resident Sri Lankan Tamil. They are partly who migrate to India and their descendants are mostly refugees from Sri Lanka because of concluded Sri Lankan civil war. In general, socio-economically, they are living below poverty line, except few people who settle in India during early times. Rich businessmen and professionals. In Tamil Nadu, they are also known as Seolan Tamils or Jaffna Tamils. Early arrivals of Sri Lankan Tamil in India. During 19th century and early 20th century, some Sri Lankan Tamils, especially from Jaffna, migrated or settled in India for various reasons, such as education, employment in the British Indian government, business, and other reasons. Among them, they were Hensman family who migrated to Chennai from Jaffna during 19th century. The Sri Lankan Tamil refugees in Tamil Nadu have three different kinds of shelter. The first is the camp refugees, or those who took shelter in the camps mostly located in the rural areas. They were sent from the Mandapam transit camp to different locations. The second group is non-campite refugees, or those living in tented houses with relatives and friends without any assistance from the government. Nearly 50,000 refugees live outside camps, most of them are staying in big cities. The third group consists of those who supposedly pose security threats since they were involved in subversive activities in Sri Lanka. They were sent to special camp where they have to live under constant surveillance. These special camps came into existence in 1991. Here you can see the two camp refugees, the picture showed in the slide.
Thank you for listening.